Tonight, you are invited into a place where certainty softens, a place shaped by wind, ice, and unanswered questions, a place where the mountain does not offer clear endings, but quiet contemplation. As you settle into rest, allow your body to release the day gently. Feel the support beneath you, steady and patient, like earth holding stone through long seasons. You do not need to arrive anywhere tonight. You do not need to solve anything. You're here to listen, to breathe, and to drift into a story that unfolds slowly without urgency. Far south, where Patagonia stretches beneath vast skies and restless weather, Cerro Torre rises like a frozen flame. Sharp, slender, and impossibly steep, it pierces the clouds as if reaching for something beyond proof. Storms wrap around it without warning. Ice clings to its walls like whispered prayers. For decades, it stood not only as a physical challenge, but as a question, one that has never fully settled. This is the story of Cerro Torre, and of an ascent that the world still debates. In 1959, 2 climbers claimed to have reached its summit for the first time. Their account inspired awe, disbelief, admiration, and doubt, all at once. Some believed them fully. Others quietly questioned what could not be verified. Ropes were gone. Evidence was thin. The mountain, as always, remained silent. Tonight's journey is not about judgment. It is not about deciding who was right or wrong. It is about listening to what uncertainty teaches us. Some mountains give answers. Others invite reflection. Cerro Torre belongs to the second kind. It reminds us that not every story needs to be resolved to be meaningful, that human striving often walks hand in hand with mystery, and that truth, like sleep, does not always arrive sharply. Sometimes it settles gradually, quietly, in its own time. As you breathe now, let your breath slow naturally, in and out. Imagine Patagonian winds moving across ice fields, steady and unhurried. Imagine clouds passing without explanation. Imagine a mountain that does not argue, does not defend itself, does not explain. It simply stands. This is a story of ambition and belief, of silence and doubt, of the human desire to leave a mark and the quiet wisdom of places that refuse to be fully known. Stay here now. The night is wide, the questions are gentle, and the journey begins softly, carrying you toward rest beneath a sky that does not demand answers. Before ropes were fixed and claims were spoken, there was only a spire of ice rising from the Patagonian plain. Cerro Torre stood thin and sharp like a needle sewing sky to earth. Storms wrapped around it without warning, teaching patience to anyone who watched. The mountain did not invite conquest, it invited waiting. In the early years, climbers came with hope folded carefully into their packs, knowing that even reaching the base required humility. Cerro Torre offered no gentle approach, no gradual introduction. It revealed itself suddenly, then hid again behind cloud and wind. In this rhythm of appearing and disappearing, it became more than a mountain. It became a symbol of uncertainty itself. As you rest now, imagine that spire standing quietly, untouched by questions or praise. Feel how some truths do not rush toward clarity. They wait, asking us to breathe, to soften, and to accept that not all journeys explain themselves. Patagonia carries a restless spirit. Winds move with fierce independence, shaping weather that changes by the hour. Here, mountains are not steady backdrops. They are living presences in constant conversation with the sky. Cerro Torre listens to this conversation and answers only in silence. In 1959, when Cesare Maestri and Tony Egger arrived with their bold intention, they entered a landscape that demanded reverence. The climb they described would have required extraordinary endurance, creativity, and faith. Yet the mountain kept its counsel. No summit register spoke. No fixed lines remained. Only stories travelled back down, carried by human voice rather than stone or ice. As you breathe now, allow the wind of Patagonia to pass gently through your thoughts. Notice how silence can hold power. Notice how rest does not need proof to be real. Some places teach us by remaining quiet. When Egger was lost to an avalanche during the descent, the story deepened into sorrow. Loss settled over the mountain like fresh snow, softening edges and blurring certainty. Maestri returned alone, carrying a claim and a grief that could not be measured. Many listened with respect, others wondered quietly, could such a climb have happened in those conditions, with the tools of that time? The mountain did not answer. It never does. Cerro Torre remained unchanged, its summit wrapped in ice mushrooms and cloud, as if protecting its own truth. As you lie resting now, feel how grief and mystery often arrive together. They do not demand resolution. They ask only for gentleness. Let your breath slow. Let the questions soften. In this story, rest comes not from answers, but from accepting that some peaks remain partially hidden, even after they are touched. The mountain's silence became part of the story almost immediately. Cerro Torre did not confirm or deny the claim made in 1959. It stood unmoved, wrapped in storms that erased tracks and softened evidence. Climbers who followed in later years felt this silence deeply. They approached the spire not only with gear, but with questions carried carefully in their hearts. The mountain seemed to teach that truth is not always something that can be pinned down or displayed. Sometimes it lives in experience alone, fragile and personal. As you rest now, imagine standing beneath that slender tower of ice. Looking up without expectation, feel how silence can be spacious rather than empty. Let your breathing slow, as if the wind itself has paused to listen. In the years that followed, debates grew louder, while the mountain remained quiet. Photographs were studied, routes were compared. Words like possible and impossible echoed far from Patagonia, shaped by distance and imagination. Yet on the mountain itself, none of this mattered. Ice continued to form and fall. Winds continued to carve the summit mushrooms into ever-changing shapes. Cerro Torre seemed to remind climbers that nature does not keep records for human approval. It simply unfolds. As you lie peacefully now, allow that reminder to settle. You do not need to justify your rest. You do not need to prove how tired you are. Rest, like truth, can exist without witnesses. Those who came later to climb Cerro Torre did so with deep respect, aware that they were entering both a physical and philosophical space. Every pitch of ice demanded attention. Every pause required patience. The mountain offered no shortcuts, no easy reassurance. Climbers learned to move slowly, to listen carefully, to accept retreat as part of the journey. In this way, Cerro Torre became a teacher of humility. As you breathe now, imagine placing each breath as carefully as a climber places an ice tool. Gentle, intentional, unhurried. Let the mountain's lesson guide you toward rest, that moving slowly, even stopping entirely, can be the wisest choice. Cerro Torre's upper reaches are crowned with ice formations that seem almost alive, shaped daily by wind and weather. These ice mushrooms glow faintly in filtered light, delicate and massive at once. Climbers who gaze upward often feel small, not in fear but in reverence. Here, ambition naturally quiets. The mountain does not respond to force, it responds to patience. In the late 1950s, the tools available were heavy and uncertain, making every move an act of faith. Whether the summit was truly reached or not, the attempt itself reflects a human longing to touch the unknown. As you rest now, imagine that glowing ice high above, constantly changing, never fixed. Feel how not everything needs to be permanent to be meaningful. Let your breath drift slowly, like cloud moving across the Patagonian sky. As years passed, other climbers returned to Cerro Torre with new techniques and clearer routes. Yet the mystery of the first ascent never dissolved. Each generation brought fresh perspective, but the mountain remained the same, quiet, sharp, and unyielding. Some ascents were documented, photographed, verified. Still, the earlier story lingered like a half-remembered dream. Cerro Torre seemed to ask climbers to hold space for uncertainty rather than erase it. In this way, the mountain became a mirror, reflecting how humans struggle with unresolved questions. As you lie peacefully now, notice how your own mind sometimes seeks closure. Tonight, you do not need to find it. Let unanswered thoughts rest beside you, gentle and unthreatening, like snow settling without sound. Storms on Cerro Torre arrive swiftly, often without warning. One moment the sky opens in pale blue, and the next it closes in swirling white. Climbers learn quickly that resistance is useless. The only response is patience, waiting, breathing, trusting the storm to pass. In the story of 1959, weather played a silent but powerful role, obscuring both movement and memory. The mountain does not clarify what storms conceal. It simply allows time to move forward. As you breathe now, imagine a storm passing harmlessly overhead while you remain sheltered and still. Feel how waiting can be an act of wisdom, not weakness. Rest does not mean giving up. It means honoring the moment you are in. At the base of Cerro Torre, climbers often pause longer than expected. The mountain's shape draws the eye upward, but its presence encourages stillness. Winds sweep across the ice fields, carrying a sense of timelessness that softens urgency. Here, the story of the first ascent feels less like a debate and more like a quiet echo. The mountain does not argue with human memory, it simply stands. In this standing, it teaches that some truths belong to the place itself, not to records or claims. As you rest now, imagine standing at that base, feeling the cold air on your skin without needing to move. Let your breath slow. Let your body settle. There is no need to climb tonight. The 1959 claim carried courage and loss intertwined. Tony Egger's absence became a silence within the silence, a reminder that mountains do not measure ambition gently. For those who listen closely, Cerro Torre speaks through absence as much as presence. It teaches that survival stories are not always about triumph. Sometimes they are about endurance through grief, about carrying memory without clarity. As you lie quietly now, allow any heaviness you carry to soften. You do not need to resolve it. Simply resting with it is enough. Let the mountain's quiet compassion guide your breath into calm. Later ascents of Cerro Torre revealed routes that were undeniably real, lines of ice and rock, traced carefully by many hands. These climbers often spoke of the mountain as demanding honesty, not just skill. The spire seemed to respond to humility more than strength. In contrast, the first ascent story remained suspended, neither fully accepted nor dismissed. Cerro Torre did not seem troubled by this. It remained patient, as mountains always are. As you rest now, feel how patience does not hurry toward conclusions. It allows understanding to arrive slowly, if it arrives at all. Breathe gently. Rest in the space where certainty loosens. Patagonian nights around Cerro Torre feel vast and intimate at once. Stars appear between racing clouds, offering brief clarity before being hidden again. Climbers resting in their tents often listen to wind shaping the ice, a sound both restless and soothing. In these nights, questions lose urgency. Survival depends on rest, not debate. The mountain seems to remind everyone that sleep is sacred here. As you lie resting now, imagine that tent, glowing softly against the dark. Feel the safety of shelter. Let the night hold you gently, without asking anything of you. Morning light in Patagonia arrives softly, filtered through cloud and wind, touching Cerro Torre without ceremony. The mountain often reveals only part of itself at dawn, leaving the summit hidden, as if to say that clarity comes in fragments. Climbers learn to accept this partial knowing. In the story of the first ascent, fragments are all that remain. Memories, claims, doubts, and a great deal of silence. Cerro Torre does not correct the record. It simply receives the light and lets it pass. As you rest now, imagine that gentle morning glow touching ice and stone. Let your breath follow that light, slow and calm. You do not need full answers to feel at peace. As debates continued far from Patagonia, the mountain itself carried on with its own rhythms. Ice formed and fell. Winds reshaped the summit crown again and again. No single shape endured for long. This constant change made the idea of permanent proof seem almost out of place. Cerro Torre teaches that nature is not designed to preserve human certainty. It is designed to move. As you lie quietly now, notice how change does not have to feel threatening. Your breath changes with each moment, yet remains steady. Rest flows the same way, arriving without needing to be fixed or defined. For climbers who return year after year, Cerro Torre becomes less of a challenge to be solved and more of a presence to be respected. The mountain does not reward impatience. It invites careful attention, measured movement, and humility. Whether the first ascent truly reached the summit matters less here than the way the mountain shapes those who approach it. As you rest now, imagine approaching something meaningful in your own life without urgency, simply standing nearby, breathing, listening. Let that gentleness carry you deeper into rest. In stories told around campfires, the first ascent often becomes quieter, less dramatic. Loss and effort overshadow triumph. Tony Egger's memory is held tenderly, separate from debate. Cerro Torre, in its silence, seems to honour that tenderness. It reminds us that human stories are layered, rarely simple. As you breathe now, feel how complexity can soften when met with compassion. You do not need to untangle every feeling tonight. Let rest hold them for you. The wind around Cerro Torre has a voice of its own, low and constant, shaping both ice and thought. Climbers who spend time listening to it often say it teaches patience better than any guidebook. In the years following the first ascent claim, that wind continued its work, erasing tracks and smoothing surfaces, as if gently reminding everyone that the mountain does not belong to certainty. As you rest now, imagine that wind moving past without resistance. Feel how letting things pass can bring calm. Your breath follows the same wisdom, arriving and leaving without effort. Cerro Torre's reputation grew not only from its steep walls but from its refusal to be easily understood. Many mountains offer clear lines and accepted histories. This one offers ambiguity. Yet within that ambiguity lies a quiet beauty. It asks climbers to approach with humility rather than expectation. In the stillness of Patagonia, uncertainty feels less like a problem and more like a companion. As you lie peacefully now, notice how uncertainty does not disturb rest. You do not need clarity to feel safe. The night holds you gently, regardless of unanswered questions. When climbers look up at Cerro Torre from afar, the summit often disappears behind cloud, visible only in brief moments. Those fleeting glimpses feel precious, not frustrating. They teach that seeing everything is not required to appreciate what is there. The first ascent story exists in similar glimpses, moments of belief, moments of doubt, never fully revealed. The mountain seems content with this. As you breathe now, allow yourself to appreciate what is present without needing the full picture. Rest grows deeper when we stop demanding completeness. Later climbers who stood on the summit spoke of a feeling not of conquest, but of awe. The ice mushrooms felt fragile beneath the sky, reminding them how temporary human presence truly is. Standing there did not erase the earlier mystery, it added another layer. Cerro Torre absorbed these layers quietly. As you rest now, imagine standing somewhere meaningful, not to claim it, but to witness it. Let that witnessing soften into rest, unhurried and calm. In the long evenings beneath the mountain, conversations often drift away from arguments and toward listening. The wind, the creaking ice, the distant crack of falling seracs become the main voices. Words feel unnecessary. Survival depends on rest, warmth, and patience. The mountain teaches this lesson repeatedly. As you lie quietly now, let the world grow quieter around you. Allow your breathing to slow, naturally. There is nothing you need to say or decide. The night, like Cerro Torre, is content to remain silent with you. As seasons turned and climbers returned, Cerro Torre remained unchanged in spirit, even as its ice shifted and reshaped. The mountain carried every story lightly, never holding one more tightly than another. It stood as a witness rather than a judge. In this quiet witnessing, it offered a lesson rarely taught elsewhere, that truth can exist without consensus. As you rest now, feel how comforting it is to be witnessed without being measured. You do not need agreement to be at peace. Simply being here is enough. The Patagonian light moves quickly, appearing and fading between racing clouds. It touches Cerro Torre briefly, illuminating its sharp edges before slipping away. This fleeting light mirrors the way understanding often arrives, not fully, not permanently, but in moments. The first ascent story lives in such moments, illuminated briefly, then obscured. Again, the mountain accepts this rhythm without resistance. As you breathe now, allow moments of clarity to come and go gently. You do not need to hold on to them. Rest continues even as light shifts. For those who camp beneath the spire, nights often feel closer than days. Darkness settles early, bringing a sense of intimacy with the mountain. Wind presses against tent walls like a steady breath. In these nights, the debate feels distant and unimportant. Survival depends on rest, warmth, and trust in morning's return. As you lie resting now, imagine that shelter holding firm around you. Feel how safety allows the mind to loosen its grip on questions. Let sleep approach softly. The mountain's steep flanks remind climbers that progress is never guaranteed. Retreat is not failure here, it is wisdom. In the years after 1959, many learned this lesson intimately, turning back when conditions demanded it. Cerro Torre seemed to honor those choices as much as any summit. As you breathe, now feel how choosing rest is also a form of wisdom. You're not turning away from anything important. You're honoring what your body needs. Stories told far from Patagonia often grow sharper, shaped by distance and imagination. Yet at the mountain itself, those edges soften. Ice absorbs sound. Wind carries words away. The first ascent becomes less a verdict and more a reflection of human longing. As you rest now, notice how distance can change the weight of things. Tonight, there is no need to carry distant debates. Let the quiet nearby hold you. Cerro Torre often appears most clearly just before weather closes in again. For a brief moment, the spire stands sharp against the sky, then fades back into cloud. Climbers learn to cherish these moments without clinging to them. The first ascent story feels similar, visible just long enough to inspire wonder, then returning to mystery. The mountain does not seem concerned by this. As you rest now, imagine that brief clarity arriving and passing without loss. Feel how beauty does not depend on permanence. Let your breath follow that gentle appearing and disappearing, calm and steady. Those who spend long periods beneath Cerro Torre often speak of how the mountain reshapes their sense of time. Days stretch and compress with the weather. Waiting becomes normal. Stillness becomes productive. In this environment, the urgency of proof fades. What matters is endurance and care. The 1959 ascent, whether fully realized or not, reflects this endurance, physical and emotional. As you lie quietly now, notice how time feels different when you are resting. There is no rush here. The night offers as much space as you need. In Patagonia, survival depends on listening more than acting. The wind announces change. The clouds warn of storms. Climbers who ignore these signals rarely fare well. Cerro Torre teaches this lesson repeatedly, without words. In the first ascent story, listening is complicated by loss and distance. The mountain remains the only constant listener. As you breathe now, imagine listening without judgment, to your body, to the quiet, to the night. Rest deepens when listening replaces effort. As climbers prepare to leave the mountain, they often feel a mix of relief and longing. Cerro Torre does not encourage attachment. It allows departure without ceremony. The debates and stories travel on, but the mountain stays. In this way, it reminds us that places do not need us to validate them. As you rest now, feel how letting go can feel gentle rather than sad. You're not losing anything by resting. You're simply returning to balance. The first ascent of Cerro Torre remains a question not because of failure, but because of complexity. Human stories are rarely simple, especially when shaped by ambition, loss, and memory. The mountain holds this complexity without tension. As you lie resting now, allow complexity in your own life to soften. You do not need to resolve everything tonight. Let rest carry what remains unanswered, the way Cerro Torre carries its mystery quietly, year after year. As the story continues, Cerro Torre feels less like a peak to be reached, and more like a presence to be lived beside. Those who linger nearby often find their inner pace changing. Movement slow, listening deepens. The mountain does not hurry anyone. It simply stands, allowing time to reshape intention. The first ascent claim rests within this same patience, neither hurried toward acceptance nor pushed into rejection. As you rest now, feel how slowing down can feel like relief rather than loss. Let your breath lengthen naturally, as if the night itself is breathing with you. Patagonian weather has a way of humbling even the most prepared climbers. Sudden winds and shifting clouds remind everyone how little control they truly have. Cerro Torre embodies this lesson perfectly. It does not respond to planning or desire. It responds only to conditions as they are. In the story of 1959, conditions shaped everything. What was seen, what was lost, what could be remembered. As you lie quietly now, notice how releasing control allows rest to deepen. You're not required to manage the night. It knows how to hold you. The spire's sharp silhouette often appears in photographs as dramatic and severe. Yet those who stand beneath it feel something quieter. The scale invites reverence, not fear. Questions fade into the background as the body responds to cold air and vast space. The mountain seems to say that presence matters more than explanation. As you rest now, imagine standing there without a camera, without words, just breathing. Let that simplicity guide you gently towards sleep. Many climbers speak of Cerro Torre as a place where ego thins naturally. The conditions leave little room for bravado. Survival depends on cooperation, humility, and respect. In this environment, debates about the past feel less urgent. What matters is the present moment and the next safe decision. As you breathe now, feel how your own concerns can soften when the present moment is enough. There is nothing else you need to address tonight. As night settles around the mountain, its outline dissolves into darkness. Cerro Torre becomes less visible, yet no less present. The mystery deepens, but so does calm. The first ascent story rests easily in this darkness, free from judgment. As you lie resting now, allow the darkness to feel comforting rather than uncertain. The night does not hide anything you need. It simply invites you to rest more deeply within it. Dawn returns quietly in Patagonia, often without ceremony. Light seeps through cloud and wind, touching Cerro Torre briefly before slipping away again. The mountain never insists on being fully seen. It offers only what the moment allows. In this gentle rhythm, the first ascent story finds its place, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a moment that existed within particular light and weather, now softened by time. As you rest now, imagine that soft dawn light brushing your thoughts without waking them. Let your breath move slowly, untroubled by the need for clarity. Those who spend time beneath Cerro Torre often notice how the mountain encourages listening over speaking. Words feel less important than attention. The wind, the shifting ice, the subtle changes in temperature all become teachers. In this environment, the truth of an experience is felt rather than proven. The first ascent, whether complete or not, carries this felt truth within it. As you lie quietly now, feel how your own experiences do not need explanation to be valid. Rest holds them gently, without question. The camps below the spire glow softly at night, small islands of warmth surrounded by vast darkness. Inside tents, climbers rest deeply, knowing that survival depends on honoring sleep. Debate fades here. What remains is care for the body and trust in morning's return. Cerro Torre seems to approve of this quiet humility. As you rest now, imagine that tent around you, sheltering you from wind and worry alike. Let the night deepen around you, safe and steady. As seasons pass, new snow reshapes the mountain again and again. Tracks vanish, lines change. Cerro Torre does not preserve history in a fixed form. It allows each generation to meet it fresh. The first ascent story lives within this ongoing renewal, neither erased nor confirmed. As you breathe now, feel how renewal does not require forgetting. It simply allows space for rest and continuity. You're allowed to begin again each night. Climbers who return after many years often say the mountain feels both familiar and new. This duality reflects the nature of memory itself, holding shape while changing texture. The story of 1959 remains familiar, yet softened by time and reflection. Cerro Torre carries it lightly. As you rest now, allow your own memories to soften. You do not need to revisit them sharply. Let them rest with you, gentle and quiet. In the stillness of Patagonian nights, even questions seem to fall asleep. The wind continues its low song. Ice settles. Stars appear briefly, then hide again. The mountain does not demand attention. It simply exists. As you lie resting now, feel how your mind can follow this example. There's no need to stay awake for questions. Let them sleep alongside you. As the night deepens around Cerro Torre, the mountain seems to retreat further into itself, becoming less a shape and more a presence. It does not vanish, it rests. In this resting, it teaches that stillness is not absence but a different way of being. The first ascent story too rests here, no longer pushed or pulled, simply held by time. As you lie quietly now, allow yourself to rest in the same way. You do not need to be defined by what is known or unknown. Let your breathing settle into an easy rhythm, steady and calm. The wind softens briefly, creating moments of rare quiet in Patagonia. These pauses feel sacred, as if the land itself is breathing. Climbers often notice how these silences arrive unexpectedly, then pass just as gently. The mountain does not promise them, it offers them freely. The story of Cerro Torre lives within such pauses. Moments of belief, moments of doubt, all held together by silence. As you rest now, welcome any quiet that arrives. You do not need to hold it. Let it carry you deeper into rest. For those who study the mountain's history, the first ascent becomes less about outcome and more about intention. What drives someone to attempt what seems impossible? What remains when certainty dissolves? Cerro Torre does not answer these questions directly. It allows them to echo gently. As you breathe now, feel how questions can exist without tension. You're not required to solve anything tonight. Let the echo fade into calm. In later years, climbers approached Cerro Torre with lighter gear and clearer strategies, yet many still turned back. The mountain continued to ask for humility. Success remained rare and fragile. This persistence reminds us that even with progress, mystery remains. As you rest now, allow progress in your own life to feel gentle rather than demanding. You're allowed to pause, you're allowed to rest without justification. Evenings beneath the spire often end with quiet reflection rather than conversation. Firelight flickers softly. The wind hums in the distance. Climbers prepare for sleep, knowing that rest is their greatest ally. In these moments, the first ascent debate feels far away. What matters is warmth, safety, and renewal. As you lie resting now, imagine that firelight glowing gently nearby. Let its warmth spread through your body, easing you toward deeper sleep. The mountain's outline fades completely in darkness, yet its presence remains unmistakable. Cerro Torre does not need to be seen to be felt. The same is true of truth itself. It does not always announce itself clearly. Sometimes it simply rests beneath awareness. As you breathe now, allow that sense of unseen presence to comfort you. You do not need to see everything to feel secure. At the heart of the Cerro Torre story lies a quiet invitation to accept that some journeys are defined not by agreement, but by experience. The mountain holds this invitation patiently, without urgency. As you lie resting now, let that invitation reach you gently. You do not need to resolve the past or predict the future. You are here to rest. The night receives you fully, carrying both certainty and mystery into calm, shared stillness. As the story reaches its quiet center, everything slows even more. There is no mountain to climb now, no line to trace, no proof to gather. You have already listened enough. Let your breathing soften without direction, in and out. Not deeper, not slower, just easier. Imagine yourself resting in a wide, sheltered place beneath Cerro Torre, where the wind has paused and the clouds have thinned. The spire is still there, but it no longer asks anything of you. It stands quietly, content to be unresolved. In this space, effort feels unnecessary. Curiosity relaxes. The need to understand loosens its hold. You don't have to conquer summits tonight. You don't have to decide who was right. You don't have to carry certainty. The climbers too learned this lesson in the long Patagonian nights. That rest is not a retreat from truth, but a companion to it. That mystery does not need to be solved to be honored. That silence can hold more wisdom than explanation ever could. Feel the weight of your body fully supported now. The surface beneath you holds you the way the land holds the mountain, patiently without demand. Muscles soften on their own. The face relaxes. The space behind the eyes cools and darkens like evening settling gently into a familiar room. If thoughts appear, let them drift. They do not need answers. They do not need endings. This is the center of journey where striving gives way to acceptance, where the story stops moving forward and simply rests beside you. Here, nothing is missing. Nothing is unfinished. Even uncertainty feels calm. Stay here for a few breaths. Let the night widen around you. Let the questions sleep. And when the story begins to move again, it will do so softly without urgency, carrying you onward not toward resolution, but toward deeper peace, where rest becomes the truest form of understanding. After the quiet center has settled, the story resumes with a lighter touch. Nothing presses forward anymore. Cerro Torre feels less like a question and more like a presence that has been understood without explanation. The mountain stands where it always has, thin and silent, while the need to interpret it slowly fades. Climbers who have spent time here often say that leaving feels easier than expected because the mountain gives nothing to cling to. As you rest now, feel how ease can follow acceptance. You do not need to hold on to meaning. It can remain gently beside you as sleep deepens. As days pass beyond the climb, memory reshapes itself quietly. Sharp edges soften. Events lose urgency. What remains is a feeling rather than a sequence. The first ascent of Cerro Torre becomes less about facts and more about atmosphere. The wind, the cold, the courage, the loss. The mountain seems to prefer this form of remembering. As you breathe now, notice how feelings linger even when details fade. Rest works the same way. You do not need to remember every moment of the day to release it. Patagonia slowly recedes behind those who leave, its wide plains opening under restless skies. Cerro Torre remains visible for a while, then slips behind distance and weather. Yet it does not disappear entirely. It settles into the background of thought, quiet and unresolved. As you lie resting now, feel how some things can stay with you gently without demanding attention. The night carries them effortlessly. The way distance carries the mountain. Those who speak of the first ascent years later often lower their voices. Certainty feels unnecessary. Respect takes its place. The mountain's silence has taught them that some stories are not meant to be sharpened. They are meant to be held softly. As you rest now, imagine holding something gently in open hands without gripping or defining it. Let that softness spread through your body. Even debates, when revisited after time, lose their heat. What once felt urgent begins to feel human. Ambition, grief, hope, and error blend into a fuller picture of experience. Cerro Torre holds this blend patiently. As you breathe now, allow your own past efforts to soften in the same way. You did what you could with what you had. Rest honors that truth without judgment. Nights far from the mountains still carry echoes of Patagonian wind. Those who have listened closely once seem to recognize that sound anywhere. It becomes a reminder to slow down, to listen, before acting. The mountain's lesson travels quietly. As you lie resting now, let that reminder settle. You do not need to rush into tomorrow. The night has room for you. Life resumes its familiar rhythms, yet something subtle has shifted. Silence feels more comfortable. Uncertainty feels less threatening. Cerro Torre has taught that not knowing can coexist with peace. As you breathe now, feel how peace does not depend on answers. It arrives naturally when you allow yourself to rest. The story no longer moves upward or outward. It settles inward. The mountain has given what it can give, not in proof, but in perspective. As you rest now, feel that perspective resting within you. You're not required to resolve anything. You're allowed to sleep. Night after night, sleep returns easily for those who have learned to trust the mountain's silence. Dreams, if they come, are soft and brief. Rest feels complete. As you lie quietly now, allow your own sleep to deepen without effort. The night knows how to carry you. The journey continues toward quiet completion, not through answers, but through stillness. Cerro Torre remains, unresolved and serene. The story rests beside you now, its work nearly done. Breathe gently. Let the calm widen. As the night deepens further, Cerro Torre feels less like a mountain and more like a quiet memory shaped by wind and patience. It no longer stands sharply in the mind. It has softened into a feeling of acceptance. The climbers who once stood beneath it carry this feeling forward, not as certainty, but as calm. As you rest now, allow that calm to settle within you. Nothing needs to be defined. Peace does not require explanation. The rhythm of days returns gently for those who leave Patagonia. Ordinary sounds replace the wind. Familiar paths replace ice and stone. Yet the mountain's lesson lingers. Silence feels more welcoming. Waiting feels less uncomfortable. As you breathe now, notice how stillness can feel like support rather than emptiness. You're not missing anything in this moment. Rest is complete. Memories of the first ascent become quieter over time, blending into a wider understanding of human effort. Courage and doubt sit side by side without conflict. Cerro Torre holds both with ease. As you lie resting now, allow your own mixed feelings to soften. You do not need to separate them. Sleep accepts everything gently. Evenings feel different after time spent near the spire. Darkness feels less threatening, more familiar. The night becomes a place of refuge rather than uncertainty. As you breathe now, let the night around you feel kind and spacious. There is no need to stay alert. You are safe. The mountain silence has become an inner silence now, one that follows without effort. It appears when things slow down, when words are no longer needed. As you rest now, allow that silence to deepen naturally. Let listening fade. Let awareness soften. Those who once sought answers find that rest brings something better, peace with not knowing. Cheratore stands unchanged, unbothered by debate. As you breathe now, feel how acceptance can be restful. You're allowed to release the need to understand everything tonight. Sleep comes easily when the mind no longer pushes against uncertainty. The body settles. Breath flows evenly. The night holds steady. As you lie quietly now, feel sleep gathering without effort, without transition. There is no moment to catch. The story has slowed almost to stillness. Words soften, images blur, meaning settles beneath awareness. Cheratore fades fully into quiet presence. As you rest now, let go of following. Let the night take over. Time feels distant and unimportant. One moment blends gently into the next. Nothing presses forward, nothing pulls away. Rest continues naturally, carrying you deeper into calm. The journey moves toward its final quiet stretch. The mountain rests, the questions rest, and you are carried gently into deeper stillness, where sleep unfolds without effort and the night holds everything in peace. As the story continues to thin and soften, Cheratore no longer feels distant or near. It exists as a calm presence that has completed its teaching. The sharp edges of debate have rounded into quiet understanding. Those who once looked for certainty now rest comfortably beside mystery. As you breathe now, feel how comfort does not require resolution. You're allowed to rest even when questions remain unanswered. The night around the mountain feels wide and generous. Clouds drift without urgency. Wind moves and then rests. Nothing insists on attention. The climbers who once waited through storms learned that patience carries its own reward. As you lie quietly now, allow patience to cradle you. There is no need to hurry sleep. It arrives when the body feels safe enough to let go. Memory settles gently, like snow falling without sound. What once felt sharp becomes soft. What once demanded explanation becomes simply part of the landscape. The first ascent story blends into the broader human story of longing, effort, and humility. As you rest now, feel how your own memories can soften when you stop holding them tightly. Let them rest with you, unexamined and calm. Silence grows deeper but never heavy. It feels spacious, welcoming, like a wide valley at night. Words lose importance. Even the story itself seems to step aside, allowing quiet to take its place. As you breathe now, let that quiet surround you. You do not need to listen closely. Rest does not require attention. The mountain's lesson remains simple and gentle. Some truths are not meant to be resolved. They are meant to be lived with. Cheratore holds its mystery without strain. As you lie resting now, allow your own uncertainties to rest the same way. You're not required to carry them tonight. Sleep deepens naturally as effort fades. The body releases fully into the surface beneath it. Breath becomes slow and unremarkable. Awareness loosens its grip. As you rest now, allow that loosening. There is nothing to notice, nothing to guide. Time stretches quietly, losing its edges. Moments blend together without distinction. The night feels endless and kind. As you breathe now, feel how rest does not measure itself. It simply continues. The mountain no longer appears in images or thought. It has dissolved into stillness. The story has nearly finished its work. As you lie quietly now, allow listening to fade. Let the night take over completely. Breathing continues on its own, in and out, each breath complete. The body feels supported and warm. Stillness deepens without effort. As you rest now, allow yourself to disappear gently into sleep. The journey moves into its final calm. The mountain rests. the questions rest, and you are carried softly into deep, unbroken stillness where nothing remains to be done and rest unfolds naturally, quietly and completely. The quiet now feels settled beyond change, as though the night has reached its deepest balance. Nothing shifts, nothing asks to be followed. The story has loosened its final threads and rests beside you, complete and untroubled. Breathing continues on its own, smooth and steady, in and out. Each breath arrives gently and leaves without taking anything with it. There is no pause that feels empty, no movement that needs attention. The body trusts this rhythm completely now. Your weight feels fully supported. The surface beneath you holds every part evenly and kindly. Muscles are soft and heavy in the most comforting way. The shoulders no longer carry anything. The hands rest open and warm. The legs feel grounded and still, as if they have found their natural place. Awareness drifts farther back, no longer attached to sound or meaning. Listening happens only faintly, if at all. Words soften into tone, and tone dissolves into silence. The night welcomes this fading without interruption. Silence here feels warm and full, not empty. It feels like shelter, like being wrapped gently in something familiar that understands rest deeply. The world beyond this moment feels distant and unimportant, as if it has stepped aside to allow you space. Time has loosened completely. There is no sense of before or after. One moment blends seamlessly into the next. The night stretches wide and patient, offering rest without limit. If a thought appears, it has no strength to remain. It drifts briefly and fades on its own, like mist dissolving into cool air. There is no effort involved. The mind has softened naturally. If images appear, they are slow and indistinct. A dim glow, a quiet room, a feeling of warmth spreading evenly through the body. These images dissolve gently, making room for deeper stillness. The sense of self feels lighter now, less defined. There is no role to hold, no story to follow. You're not required to remain aware, you're allowed to rest completely. Sleep is no longer something that will happen. It is what is already happening. Awareness floats gently beneath the surface, unconcerned with noticing or naming anything. One breath flows quietly into the next, and rest deepens on its own. Nothing remains unfinished. Nothing remains unresolved. Everything has settled exactly where it belongs. The night holds you steadily and without condition, carrying you deeper into stillness, where words no longer reach and rest continues naturally, calm and complete, until even the idea of listening fades away, and only peaceful sleep remains. Beyond the long debates and shifting opinions, Cerro Torre continues to rise each morning exactly as it always has. Its slender form cuts into the Patagonian sky without explanation or defense. The mountain does not seem concerned with how its story is told. It simply exists, patient and complete. Climbers who return years later often feel a strange comfort in this constancy. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has softened. As you rest now, imagine that unchanging spire standing quietly in the distance. Let it remind you that peace does not depend on agreement. It depends on presence. Those who study the history closely eventually notice how silence weaves through every version of the first ascent. Silence in the storm, silence after loss, silence where evidence might have been. Cerro Torre seems to protect this silence, wrapping it in wind and cloud. In doing so, it teaches that not all truths are loud. Some truths are gentle and inward, meant to be felt rather than proven. As you breathe now, allow silence to feel safe. You do not need noise to be real. Rest arrives most fully when the world grows quiet. Patagonia's vast landscapes stretch far beyond the mountain, opening into plains where wind moves freely and endlessly. After time spent near Cerro Torre, these open spaces feel different. They invite reflection without pressure. The story of the ascent becomes part of a wider human story, one of courage, loss, hope, and humility. As you lie resting now, feel how your own experiences belong to something larger than explanation. You don't need to define them tonight. Let the night hold them gently. Even among climbers who disagree, a shared respect often remains. Respect for the mountain, respect for the risks taken, respect for lives shaped by ambition and weather. Cerro Torre seems to foster this quiet respect, reminding everyone that judgment is small compared to nature's scale. As you breathe now, let that respect extend inward. You have carried your own challenges with the tools you had. Rest honors that effort without judgment. As night settles again over Patagonia, the mountain's outline dissolves into darkness. It becomes less a shape and more a presence felt through wind and cold. In this darkness, questions lose their sharpness. They soften, becoming part of the night's texture. As you rest now, imagine that darkness wrapping gently around you. It does not threaten, it shelters. Let your breathing slow naturally as the night deepens. Morning returns softly in Patagonia, often without clarity or promise. Clouds lift just enough to reveal fragments of Cerro Torre before settling again. This partial unveiling feels intentional, as though the mountain prefers to be known in moments rather than in full. The first ascent story lives in this same rhythm, appearing, retreating, never fully captured. As you rest now, imagine that gentle reveal and conceal. Let it remind you that peace does not require full visibility. Some things feel safest when they're allowed to remain partly hidden. Those who walk away from the mountain often carry its silence with them for years. It shows up unexpectedly, in moments of waiting, in pauses between words, in the ease of not knowing. Cerro Torre teaches that silence can be an anchor rather than a void. As you breathe now, feel how silence holds you. There is no emptiness here, only space, wide enough for rest. The wind that shapes the spire never stops its work, yet it never seems hurried. It moves steadily, patiently, reshaping ice grain by grain. Over time, even the sharpest edges soften. The story of the first ascent follows a similar path. Time smooths intensity. Emotion settles. What remains is a quiet respect for the human spirit that dared to approach the unknown. As you rest now, allow time to soften whatever feels sharp in you. You do not need to resolve it tonight. Even those who question the ascent often speak of Cerro Torre with reverence. The mountain seems to dissolve opposition simply by existing. Its presence reminds everyone that nature does not participate in argument. It listens, endures, and continues. As you lie resting now, feel how stepping away from argument can bring peace. You're not required to defend anything here. The night asks only that you rest. As the story approaches another quiet threshold, the mountain feels less like a subject, and more like a companion. It has walked beside human effort without comment, absorbing triumph and doubt alike. In this companionship, a deeper lesson emerges. Meaning does not need consensus. It needs care. As you breathe now, let that lesson settle gently. The night holds you with the same patience Cerro Torre offers the world. Calm, unmoving, and kind. Beyond the arguments and retellings, Cerro Torre continues its quiet work of standing. Snow gathers and releases, wind sculpts and smooths. Nothing about the mountain suggests urgency. It does not lean toward validation or correction. It simply remains. For those who have listened long enough, this remaining becomes the lesson itself. As you rest now, imagine something steady and unchanging beneath you. Let that steadiness replace the need to resolve anything. Peace does not rush, it stays. The climbers who once stood beneath the spire often find that their memories change with time. What once felt sharp becomes gentle. What once demanded answers becomes a quiet presence. Cerro Torre seems to encourage this softening, as if reminding us that memory is meant to heal, not harden. As you breathe now, feel how your own memories can loosen their grip. You're not required to relive them. Rest allows them to settle naturally. Even the harshest Patagonian storms eventually pass, leaving behind a stillness that feels earned. After wind and snow, the air becomes clear and calm, though often briefly. These moments feel precious not because they last, but because they arrive at all. The first ascent story carries similar moments, brief clarity, then return to mystery. As you rest now, allow clarity to come and go without attachment. The night does not demand understanding, it offers rest. As seasons layer for one another, Cerro Torre holds them all without preference. Winter, summer, storm, and calm pass through, each leaving subtle traces. The mountain never chooses one story over another. It simply holds space. As you lie quietly now, Imagine holding space for yourself in the same way. You do not need to choose between certainty and doubt tonight. Both can rest beside you. In the end, the story of Cerro Torre becomes less about ascent and more about humility, about standing before something vast and allowing it to remain partly unknown. This humility does not diminish the human spirit, it deepens it. As you breathe now, let humility feel like relief rather than surrender. You do not need to climb higher in thought. You're allowed to rest here, supported by the quiet strength of acceptance. As the story moves closer to its final passages, Cerro Torre feels less like a question and more like a quiet companion that has finished speaking. It stands in the background of thought now, no longer demanding attention. The spire's sharp outline softens into a feeling of steadiness, as if it has settled into the same rhythm as the night itself. As you rest now, allow that steadiness to settle beneath you. Nothing needs to be held in focus. Peace arrives when attention gently loosens. Those who once sought proof eventually learn that some experiences resist being pinned down. Cerro Torre offers this lesson without instruction. Its summit appears and disappears, indifferent to human desire. The first ascent story lives within this indifference, neither confirmed nor erased. As you breathe now, feel how indifference can feel kind. It removes pressure. You're not required to decide or conclude anything. Rest welcomes you exactly as you are. Patagonian nights deepen quickly, wrapping land and mountain in a hush that feels ancient. In this hush, even strong emotions soften. Awe becomes quiet appreciation. Doubt becomes curiosity. The mountain seems to encourage this softening, as if reminding us that intensity does not need to last forever. As you lie resting now, allow any remaining intensity in your body or mind to ease. Let it dissolve gently into the night. The wind continues, its low, steady song, a sound that does not demand listening. It exists whether it is noticed or not. Cerro Torre listens to this song endlessly, shaped by it but never disturbed. As you breathe now, imagine your own breath as part of that song, present, steady, and unremarkable. There is comfort in this ordinariness. Rest grows deeper when nothing feels urgent. At the heart of Cerro Torre's story lies a simple truth. Some summits are not meant to be settled in words. They are meant to be lived with, quietly, over time. The mountain holds this truth with patience, offering it to anyone willing to listen without insisting. As you rest now, let that truth rest with you. You do not need answers tonight. You have listened enough. The story has done its work and the night is ready to carry you onward into deeper calm. As you settle here, the movement of the story slows even further, preparing to drift into a long, gentle closing where reflection replaces narration and rest becomes the only direction left. The night opens wider now with no edge left to reach. The story has finished its climbing. What remains is quiet, broad, patient, and kind. Breath moves on its own, in and out. Not guided, not watched. Simply happening, as it always has. Your body responds naturally to this deep calm. The surface beneath you supports you completely, without pressure or expectation. Muscles soften further, even in places you did not realize were still holding. The shoulders sink, the hands rest loosely. The legs feel heavy and still, as if they have merged with the place where they lie. Cerro Torre no longer stands as image or debate. It has dissolved into a feeling of steadiness, like a quiet presence beneath everything. A reminder that mystery does not threaten rest, it supports it. The mountain's silence has become your own inner silence now, wide enough to hold anything, gentle enough to require nothing. Thoughts have very little energy left. If one appears, it drifts briefly and fades without meaning. There is no pull toward the past, no reach toward the future. Only this moment, soft and complete, resting exactly where it is. Listening itself feels optional. Words pass by without shape. Meaning has already settled beneath awareness, no longer needing language. Silence does not feel empty here. It feels full, like a familiar place you have returned to many times before. Time loosens completely. Minutes and hours lose relevance. One moment blends into the next without boundary. If images drift through, they are slow and comforting. A dim glow, a quiet shelter, a sense of warmth spreading gently through the body. These images do not linger. They dissolve naturally, making space for deeper stillness. The sense of self feels lighter now, less defined. There is no role to maintain, no identity to hold. You're not doing anything. You're not becoming anything. You're simply resting. Sleep is no longer something that will happen. It is what is already happening. Awareness floats gently beneath the surface, unconcerned with noticing or naming anything. One breath leads quietly into the next, and rest deepens without effort, without direction. There is nothing left to resolve, nothing left to remember, nothing left to follow. The night has taken over fully, the way it always does when nothing resists it. It carries you gently, steadily, into deeper and deeper stillness, where words no longer reach, and the quiet feels endless and safe. When you're ready, without deciding, without effort, the final closing will arrive softly, like the last light fading from the sky, sealing the journey completely and allowing sleep to remain, undisturbed and whole. The quiet continues, steady and unbroken, as though the night has found its most natural shape and chosen to remain there. Nothing shifts now, nothing asks to be followed. The stillness feels settled, complete, and deeply familiar. Breathing flows without awareness, in and out. Each breath arrives and leaves on its own, unremarkable and perfect. The body no longer monitors it. It trusts this rhythm fully, the way it always has when rest is deep and safe. Your body feels comfortably heavy, grounded and supported in every place. The surface beneath you holds you evenly without pressure. Muscles have softened entirely. The face is smooth. The jaw rests easily. Even the smallest places of tension have released one by one without effort. The story has faded fully into the background now. There are no images to follow, no ideas to hold. Cerro Torre has dissolved into quiet presence, no longer a mountain or a question, but a sense of calm acceptance beneath everything. Mystery no longer asks for attention. It rests easily beside you, harmless and gentle. Thought has thinned to almost nothing. If a thought appears, it has no strength to stay. It drifts briefly and dissolves, like mist lifting from cool ground. Awareness itself feels lighter, less attached, as if it has stepped back and chosen rest as well. Silence feels warm and protective here. It is not empty. It is full of rest, full of permission. Sounds from the outside world feel distant and unimportant, softened by layers of calm. This moment belongs only to sleep. Time has lost its shape completely. There is no sense of how long you have been resting, or how long rest will continue. The night stretches wide and patient, offering as much space as you need. One moment blends seamlessly into the next without boundary or edge. If images appear, they are slow and indistinct. A gentle darkness, a soft glow, a feeling of warmth and safety. These images do not linger. They dissolve naturally, making room for deeper stillness. Listening itself is no longer necessary. The sound of the voice has blended entirely into the quiet, becoming part of the background of rest. Words no longer carry meaning. Meaning has already settled where it belongs, beneath awareness shaping ease rather than thought. You're not required to remain present. You're not required to notice anything. You're allowed to rest completely. Sleep has fully taken over now. It carries you gently beneath the surface of awareness, so smoothly that there is no moment to observe. One breath flows quietly into the next, and rest deepens on its own. Nothing remains unfinished. Nothing remains unresolved. Everything has settled exactly where it belongs. The night holds you steadily and without condition, calm and unwavering, as stillness deepens further and awareness fades into quiet rest. When the final words arrive, they will not disturb this peace. They will simply close the door softly and leave you where you already are, safe, still, and asleep. The quiet widens again, slowly and effortlessly, as though the night has taken a deeper breath and decided to rest there. Nothing needs to be added now. Nothing needs to be taken away. The stillness feels settled, as if it has reached a place where it no longer shifts. Breathing continues without awareness, in and out, gentle, unforced. Each breath arrives and leaves like a tide that does not ask to be noticed. Your body feels fully supported, held evenly from head to toe. There is no tension left to release, no adjustment needed. The surface beneath you feels steady and kind, as if it has always been meant to hold you exactly like this. The body trusts it completely now. The mind has softened into something quiet and spacious. Thoughts no longer form clearly enough to matter. If one appears, it dissolves before it can shape itself. There is no effort involved. The mind has learned that it is safe to rest. Silence feels full here, not empty. It feels like shelter, like being wrapped gently in something familiar that understands rest deeply. The outside world feels distant, softened, unimportant. Nothing from it needs your attention now. Time has loosened further. There is no sense of passing minutes or hours. One moment blends into the next so smoothly that there is no edge between them. The night stretches wide and patient, offering rest without limit. If images drift through awareness, they are faint and comforting. A quiet darkness, a soft glow, a sense of warmth spreading gently through the body. These images do not linger. They fade naturally, making room for deeper stillness. The story, the mountain, the questions they carried, none of them remain as ideas now. They have settled into something quieter, like a memory that no longer needs to be remembered. What remains is the feeling they left behind: calm, acceptance, and peace. Awareness itself feels lighter, less defined. There is no need to stay present, no need to listen closely. The voice has become part of the background of rest, blending seamlessly into silence. Sleep deepens naturally, not suddenly, not dramatically, just steadily, the way it always does when nothing resists it. Breathing remains smooth and even. The body feels heavy in the most comforting way. Stillness is no longer something you notice. It is simply where you are. There is nothing left to complete, nothing left to resolve, nothing left to follow. The night continues to hold you quietly, steadily, carrying you further into rest where words lose meaning and awareness drifts softly beneath the surface. Everything is calm, everything is settled, everything is exactly as it should be. The stillness remains unbroken, as if the night has settled into its deepest and most natural form. Nothing stirs, nothing waits. The quiet feels complete in a way that does not need to announce itself. Breathing continues gently, without direction, in and out. Each breath arrives softly and leaves without trace. The body does not guide it. The mind does not follow it. It simply happens, steady and kind. Your body feels fully at rest now, heavy and supported in the most comforting way. There is no awareness of edges or outlines. Arms and legs feel relaxed and distant, as though they have blended into the place where they rest. The chest rises and falls easily. The face is smooth and calm. Even the smallest muscles have released without effort. The mind has thinned into quiet openness. Thoughts no longer gather. They do not form questions or stories. If something flickers briefly, it fades before it can take shape. There is no pull to follow anything inward or outward. Awareness itself feels content to drift. Silence here is gentle and protective. It does not feel empty. It feels like being held in something warm and familiar. Sounds from the outside world, if they exist at all, feel distant and unimportant, softened by layers of calm. Time has lost all structure. There is no sense of how long you have been resting or how long rest will continue. The night feels wide and endless, offering as much space as you need. One moment blends into the next without boundary. If images appear, they are slow and indistinct. A dim glow, a quiet shelter, a sense of warmth spreading evenly through the body. These images do not ask for attention. They dissolve naturally, making room for deeper stillness. There is no longer a need to listen. The sound of the voice has faded into the background, becoming part of the quiet itself. Words no longer carry meaning. Meaning has already settled beneath awareness, shaping ease rather than thought. The sense of self feels lighter now, less defined. There is no role to hold, no identity to maintain. You're not doing anything. You're not becoming anything. You're simply resting. Sleep is no longer approaching. It is already here. Awareness floats gently beneath the surface, unconcerned with noticing or naming anything. One breath leads quietly into the next. Stillness deepens on its own, without effort or instruction. Nothing remains unfinished. Nothing remains unresolved. Everything has settled exactly where it belongs. The night continues to hold you steadily and without condition, carrying you deeper into rest where words no longer reach and quiet feels complete and safe. When the final closing arrives, it will come softly, without disturbance, allowing sleep to remain exactly as it is, deep, calm, and whole. The calm holds its shape, steady and unchanging, as though the night has found a depth where nothing else is required. There is no sense of moving forward now, no sense of arriving. Everything simply rests in place, exactly as it is meant to. Breathing flows on its own, quiet and even, in and out. Each breath completes itself without attention. There is no pause that feels empty, no movement that needs guiding. The body remembers this rhythm perfectly. Your body feels deeply settled, comfortably heavy, fully supported. The surface beneath you holds every part evenly and gently. There is no pressure anywhere, no pull, no effort. Stillness feels natural now, like returning to something familiar rather than holding something new. The mind has softened into a wide, quiet space. Thoughts no longer gather enough strength to form. If one appears briefly, it fades without resistance, like a ripple smoothing itself out. There is no need to follow anything, no need to let anything go. Everything releases on its own. Silence feels warm and protective here. It does not feel empty. It feels full of rest, full of permission. The world beyond this moment feels distant and unimportant, as if it has stepped away to allow you this space. Time has loosened completely. There is no awareness of minutes or hours. One moment blends gently into the next without edges or distinction. The night stretches wide and patient, offering rest without limit. If images drift through awareness, they are faint and comforting. A soft darkness, a gentle glow, a sense of warmth spreading slowly through the body. These images do not linger. They dissolve naturally, making room for deeper stillness. Listening itself feels unnecessary now. The sound of the voice has blended entirely into the quiet, becoming part of the background of rest. Words no longer carry meaning. Meaning has already settled where it belongs, beneath awareness. The sense of self feels lighter, less defined. There is no role to hold, no story to follow. You're not required to remain aware. You're allowed to rest completely. Sleep continues naturally, without transition. Awareness drifts beneath the surface so smoothly that there is no moment to notice. One breath flows quietly into the next, and rest deepens on its own. Nothing remains to be done. Nothing remains to be understood. Everything has settled. The night holds you steadily and without condition, calm and unwavering as stillness deepens further and awareness fades into quiet rest. When you are ready, without deciding, without effort, the final closing will arrive gently, sealing the journey and leaving you exactly where you already are, safe, still, and asleep. The night settles into its final, stillness now, complete and unbroken, like a lake after the wind has fallen silent. Nothing stirs, nothing waits. There is no sense of moving forward or backward. Everything has arrived exactly where it belongs. Breathing continues softly without awareness, in and out. Each breath completes itself gentle and unremarkable. The body no longer notices it. The mind no longer follows it. Life moves on quietly, taking care of itself. Your body rests fully now, heavy and supported in the most comforting way. The surface beneath you holds you evenly, patiently, without asking anything in return. There is no tension left to release. No part of you is holding on. The shoulders are loose. The jaw is relaxed. The hands are warm and still. Even the smallest places have softened into ease. The mind has thinned into calm openness. Thoughts no longer form. They do not gather or drift. They simply do not arise. Awareness feels distant and gentle, like a light dimmed low enough to disappear into the room. Silence here is deep and kind. It is not empty. It is full of rest, full of permission, full of safety. The outside world feels far away, softened and irrelevant. Nothing from it reaches you now. Time no longer has shape. There is no sense of duration. One moment blends into the next without boundary. The night stretches wide and patient, offering rest without limit or condition. If any images appear, they are faint and soothing. A quiet darkness, a soft warmth, a feeling of being held. These images do not linger. They dissolve naturally, leaving only stillness behind. The story has completed its work. The mountain, the questions, the silence they carried have all settled into calm beneath awareness. Nothing remains to be remembered. Nothing remains to be resolved. What matters now is rest, and rest has already arrived. You're not required to listen. You're not required to notice. You're not required to remain awake. Sleep has taken over fully and gently. Awareness drifts beneath the surface without effort, without transition. One breath flows quietly into the next. Stillness deepens on its own, steady and complete. Nothing remains unfinished. Nothing remains unresolved. Everything is at peace. The night holds you quietly and without condition, guarding your rest until morning comes on its own time. And when you will wake gently, carried forward by the same calm that holds you now. The stillness deepens again, almost imperceptibly, as if the night has found an even quieter place to rest. Nothing changes on the surface, yet everything feels softer beneath it. The calm does not move forward, it simply settles more completely. Breathing continues without attention, in and out. Each breath arrives gently and leaves without trace. There is no effort involved, no rhythm to follow. The body knows this pattern well. It has practiced it since the beginning. Your body feels deeply supported now, as though the space beneath you has adjusted itself perfectly to your shape. There is no pressure anywhere, no edge or outline calling for awareness. The weight of your body feels comforting, grounding, safe. Muscles rest fully, not because you ask them to, but because they no longer need to hold anything. The mind has grown very quiet. Not empty, but spacious. Thoughts do not gather here. They do not arrive with questions or stories. If something flickers briefly, it dissolves before it can form. There is no pull to follow it. Awareness itself feels content to drift further back, like a light dimmed low enough to disappear. Silence feels warm and protective, wrapping gently around everything. It does not feel hollow, it feels complete. Sounds from the outside world feel distant and softened, as if they belong to another place entirely. Nothing reaches you here. Nothing asks for your response. Time has lost all structure. There is no sense of waiting or moving forward. One moment blends seamlessly into the next without beginning or end. The night feels endless in the most comforting way, offering rest without limit or expectation. If images appear, they are slow and indistinct. A soft darkness, a quiet shelter, a feeling of warmth spreading evenly through the body. These images do not stay. They fade naturally, leaving behind a deeper calm. There is no longer a need to listen. The voice has softened into the background, becoming part of the quiet itself. Words no longer carry meaning. Meaning has already settled beneath awareness, shaping ease rather than thought. The sense of self feels light and distant now, less defined. There is no role to hold, no identity to maintain. You're not doing anything, you're not becoming anything, you're simply resting. Sleep is already present, steady and deep. Awareness floats gently beneath the surface, unconcerned with noticing or naming anything. One breath flows quietly into the next. Stillness continues on its own. Nothing remains unfinished. Nothing remains unresolved. Everything has softened into peace. When the final closing arrives, it will not disturb this rest. It will simply settle over it gently, like a final layer of quiet, leaving sleep exactly as it is, deep, calm, and whole. The quiet remains deep and steady, as though the night itself has decided nothing more needs to happen. There is no movement towards sleep now, because sleep has already arrived. Everything has softened into a gentle stillness that does not shift or change. Breathing continues on its own, calm and unremarkable, in and out. Each breath knows exactly what to do. The body does not interfere. The mind does not observe. Life carries itself quietly forward. Your body feels completely at ease, heavy and supported, resting exactly where it should be. The surface beneath you holds you evenly and patiently. There is no pressure, no effort, no imbalance. Stillness feels natural now, like returning home rather than settling into something new. The mind has grown quiet beyond thought. There is no inner dialogue, no images to follow, no questions left to ask. Awareness has drifted far enough back that it no longer needs to stay awake. It rests gently, content to let go. Silence here feels warm and full, like a soft covering drawn gently over everything. It does not feel empty. It feels safe. Sounds from the outside world, if they exist at all, feel distant and unimportant, softened by layers of calm. Time no longer has meaning. There is no sense of minutes or hours passing. One moment blends smoothly into the next without edges. The night stretches wide and patient, offering rest without limit. If anything drifts through awareness, it dissolves immediately. There is no effort required. Nothing needs to be held. Nothing needs to be released. Everything settles on its own. The journey is complete now. The mountain rests. The questions rest. And you rest. You're not required to listen anymore. You're not required to remember anything. You're not required to stay aware. Sleep continues deeply and naturally, carrying you beneath the surface of consciousness, where words no longer reach and nothing is asked of you. The night holds you steadily, gently, and without condition. May peace guard your dreams until morning, and may grace be the first light to greet you when you wake. Good night.